Thank you. As it was stated, my name is Devin Eckhardt, and I'm joined by my wife, Veronica. And for very personal reasons, we chose to join you here today as you dedicate some time to better understanding the threats and issues surrounding new psychoactive substances, sometimes referred to as synthetic designer drugs. The epidemic rate at which they're spreading, the severity of their destructive effects both within the U.S. and globally, and the deadly impact they're having upon our countries, our communities, and our families. And it's our sincere hope and prayer that each of you will leverage both your individual and collective power to do more than simply discuss this growing problem, but rather you will choose to take action now and make changes necessary to eradicate these deadly poisons and their proliferation. It's my hope that my testimony will help provide some heart to the head knowledge that you hear so frequently in these conversations. Sadly, my wife, family, and I tragically know all too well the devastating impact of synthetic drugs. In July of 2014, our 19-year-old son, Connor, was a bright, vibrant young man with a full life ahead of him. He was really what most would have considered the all-American young boy. He had a great job. He was preparing to go back to college. He loved music, surfing, the outdoors. He had lots of friends. And of course, he was deeply loved by his family, his sisters, his mother, and of course me, his father. This first photo here was a family shot taken July 5th of 2014. It was the last time we'd be together like this as a family. 8 days later, Connor was with a new friend. He made the seemingly innocent decision. He agreed to try something called spice, a synthetic poison. And the result was the second photo there. After many days in the hospital with our son in a coma, he was ultimately declared brain dead. Connor died July 16th, 2014. After one smoke of a legal high purchased at a local store. At the time, we were unaware of MPSs, and we made the decision to share our story publicly, to be painfully transparent and naked with our tragedy before a watching world, with the simple hopes that perhaps it might change one person's life. It might spare them and their family the horrific circumstances that we were facing and that we now live with each day. Since the death of our son 671 days ago, we've met far too many parents who've also lost their children to synthetic drugs like spice. And through our outreach, speaking, and education efforts over these past 671 days, we've communicated with literally hundreds of thousands of people throughout the United States and around the world who've lost loved ones or had their lives tragically destroyed by synthetic drugs. Unfortunately, what happened to Connor is not unique. Far too many people have suffered irreparable harm, including death, as a result of trying or using these poisons. However, what is unique about his story is how it has received an overwhelming global response to what we've shared publicly through social media, news interviews, TV, radio broadcasts around the world. His story is cut through the racial, socioeconomic, geographic, and religious barriers typically encountered. We know that MPSs are affecting everyone, everywhere. We're not just one voice. Connor's not just one face or some statistic. We represent the voice and the face of many others just like us. We've had the opportunity to reach millions of people on this subject. We've been interviewed by most of the major news and media outlets around the U.S. and globally, and of course we've leveraged social media. We've had individual unique Facebook posts that have reached millions at a time, with one reaching over 37 million people globally. We've had the opportunity to speak in many settings. We've worked with and spoken to senators, legislators, law enforcement officials, and many in government. We even met with a Lord from the House of Lords in the UK this past summer as we were there on this subject. We've worked with numerous organizations in an effort to educate and increase awareness on the dangers of synthetic drugs, and we've worked to change laws so that these poisons are removed from our streets, our stores, and our communities. But more must be done. The problem is getting worse. Hundreds of new synthetic drug compounds have appeared around the world in the last few years, sometimes spreading at the rate of a new drug per week. And we're allowing these to come into our country. Illicit drug manufacturers are constantly working and changing the formulas, developing developing new chemical derivatives in order to evade the laws, and frankly, they're working faster than we are. The issue of MPSs needs to be addressed, and it needs to be done now. When this congressional gathering is ended, you return home. You'll return to your families, your children, those you love and care for. When we return home, we return to a family that's been forever changed because the death of our beloved son is a result of synthetic drugs. As long as the people around the world pushing these poisons into our communities know that there are little or no consequence for their actions, and they do know this, we will continue to see the spread of synthetic drugs and the terrible harm they're bringing to our families and to our youth and communities. You have the power to do something about this. You're in positions of influence and leadership, and we're pleading with you to please take action. Don't just talk about and debate the issues. Bring about change that will get these substances out of our communities and deal appropriately with those behind the manufacturing and distribution of MPSs globally. Thank you for your time and your consideration on this.